Hello, everybody. Welcome to this wonderful day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining us in this next hour to talk about Microsoft Teams. There's been a lot of buzz in the past couple of weeks since the announcement of Microsoft Teams. Personally, I've been using it. It's a phenomenal technology around collaboration, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is really unpacking what Microsoft Teams is all about. I'm very, very privileged to be joined by my colleagues and friends from the industry, Matt Berg from Microsoft and then Victor Villan from Avanade. My name is Dux Raymond Sai. I serve as the CTO of AvePoint, and in this next hour, I'll join Matt and Victor really to talk about Teams and hit on a couple key areas. We'll do a brief introduction as to who we are and why we're here and what gives us the opportunity to talk about Teams. We'll talk about Teams, and Matt will cover the basics of Teams. What is it? How does it work? How does it relate to the big picture of Office 365? Matt will showcase a little demo, just high level on how to use Teams. And then Victor will share their experience as an organization as they were part of the preview on how Avanade used it and what the value it brought. We'll do a quick recap, and then we'll definitely do Q&A. Speaking of Q&A, as you see in this platform, there's a place where you can ask questions. All the resources we have in this presentation will be made available to you from this PowerPoint, recording, and any other relevant information that we share throughout the next hour. And if you're watching live on Twitter via Periscope, welcome, and thank you for joining us. So like I said, my name is Dux Raymond Sai. I serve as the CTO here at AvePoint. Very honored and privileged to be a Microsoft MVP and Regional Director, and been very, I'm very grateful that in the last 15 or so years have worked with a lot of these great technologies, from SharePoint to Project to Yammer to Groups and now Teams, and be able to support our customers in taking advantage of this to help their business. So Victor, if you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell people about what you do, where you are, and how you like Teams so far.
Sure. Thanks, Dux. My name is Victor Villan, work for Avanade in Sweden. Work with something we call the Digital MP Experience, which is part SharePoint, part collaboration, all those things that make your job fun and so that your business can get the most out of it. I'm also a SharePoint MVP and SharePoint MCM. And as I said, work for Avanade, we've been in the TAP program. And this TAP program, I've never seen a product that's been kept that secret that Teams has been. So it's been really fun being a TAP program and giving feedback to the product team about Teams. And we've been seeing a phenomenal uptake in how we can collaborate within Teams after just a few weeks and now after a few months with it. I think it's really cool, and I think you will enjoy this session today with Matt showing a demo and explaining what Team is, and I will try to put it in the context. Where does this fit into the bigger Office 365 picture? Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Victor, and definitely would love to hear from you. Matt?
Thanks, Dux. Hey, everybody. My name is Matt Berg. I am a Microsoft productivity specialist based in Los Angeles, California. Been with Microsoft for a little over 15 years. Trivia for you, my first job at Microsoft was intranet webmaster. I got to use this new thing called SharePoint 1.0. Another day I'll tell you stories about that, but I've been with the company for some time, and I've seen some neat things now focusing exclusively on Office 365, and Microsoft Teams falls into that category. Thanks, Dux.
Hey, Matt, you're dating yourself. I haven't heard the word webmaster in ages.
That's why I like talking. Well, before that, it was sysop. I think that was the term they used before the web.
There you go, sysop, right? Well, with that being said, why don't you kick us off here and kind of give everybody a quick tour of Teams?
Fantastic. Thank you, Dux, and hi, everyone, again. So we're talking about Microsoft Teams, and if I have to tell you what Microsoft Teams is in one sentence, I'm going to tell you, it's right on the screen, that this first and foremost is a chat-based workspace. inside Office 365. And I know Microsoft, we have many tools where we slap the word collaboration on. In the early days, the only collaboration tool we had was SharePoint. Then Microsoft went out and we acquired Yammer. And then we created groups. And then we changed Office Communication Server and Communicator to Link. Then we changed it to Skype for Business. So my goal is to, one, help you understand what Microsoft Teams is, to help you make the decision on how it can help you in your organization, and also compare it and help you understand how it works with the other components of the Office 365 suite, and lastly, dispel any myths. When I hand it off to Victor after my particular presentation, he'll go a little bit more technical. He'll discuss the architecture. He's got a great slide for IT on which workload to focus on when and how to recommend it to your employees as well. You know, so in reference to my last point, different groups in an organization have different needs. You know, mail and calendar, we've been doing the Exchange thing for many, many years. Sites and content management out of SharePoint. Co-authoring has been real big over the last few years, and I'll be the first to admit Microsoft wasn't the first to do Office-type co-authoring, but we have it. It's fantastic. We just announced real-time co-authoring in PowerPoint on the desktop in Office 2016. Voice, video, and meetings is important for certain people. Enterprise social is incredibly important at so many of my customers that use Yammer. And the first myth I'm going to dispel right now is Yammer is not going away. We're still heavily investing in it. And by the end of this presentation, hopefully you'll understand and you'll feel that you know the difference between groups, Yammer, and Microsoft Teams. Well, lastly,
so Matt,
we have the...
Matt, quick,
yeah.
No, quick comment. I want to hit on that point, right? Because it's one of those clickbait fake news. I feel like there was an article that came out like Yammer Enterprise going away, but what that article wasn't clear of is the licensing, right? It doesn't mean Yammer is going away. I think that's where got people confused.
I remember that article. Yeah, it was a licensing mechanism. Yammer has taken a while, but it is now fully integrated into Office 365, and so effectively, what we were saying in that interview, which was misconstrued, was that customers can't just go buy Yammer Enterprise by itself. It is part of Office 365 now, but it is still very much Yammer.
Awesome. Sorry, carry on.
No worries, and please continue to interrupt me, and team out there, questions, drop them in the Q&A manager. I'm not going to make you wait to the end. We'll kind of address them as we go on. So again, you know, these are the different needs of different groups, and not everyone needs all of these, and some need some more than others, you know, but now what's happening is everyone can go install apps in a company. You know, in the old days, you had to talk to your IT team to have an app installed on the server and bought. But now, anyone can go and subscribe to a service. Most of this happens in sales and marketing and in engineering. And, you know, this is becoming a bit of a headache. One, you know, you've got all these siloed applications that don't talk to each other. I was at a customer in Utah a few weeks back, and they're like, no, it's terrible, right? We own Skype for Business. Engineering rolled out Slack. Marketing rolled out HipChat. And now literally no one can talk to each other because everyone uses their own messaging apps. It's a complete waste of time when people are all over the place. But look, I get it, right? We didn't have that chat-based workspace people needed. So I understand that they needed to go, if they really wanted that, to use these other tools. And then lastly, as I mentioned, this concept of shadow IT not only endangers security and safety and collaboration, but it also can put IT jobs in jeopardy, right? If anyone feels that they can go ahead and create their own apps with no governance, you know, what's the point of having an IT leader? So again, this is how we're thinking about everything connects together, but we can finally say that Office 365 is truly a complete collaboration solution, and what it really was missing was chat-based workspace. It's one thing to jump into Skype for Business and send ducks a quick instant message, but if there are 10, 12 of us and we're all working on the same event or we're all working on the same piece of software, having that chat window open and close where we lose the conversation and lose the ability to send files is not very helpful. And lastly, having your chat workspace inside the same environment as everything else means that your security and compliance tools, your e-discovery, your legal hold, et cetera, are going to be able to integrate across the board. So when we think about it, your 4 takeaways, feel free to take some notes, and I'll jump to the Q&A right after this, is first and foremost, Microsoft Teams is chat. So that is how we differentiate from anything else. None of our other collaboration tools is really a chat workspace, right? We Skype for Business, you can do some quick IMs. Yammer is great for conversations with people you don't work with every single day. Now, it's a little bit of a different message, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But think about it. If I know exactly who I'm talking to, I'm pinging Dux, I'm pinging Victor because we're working on this presentation together, I think Microsoft Teams is a fantastic tool for us to quickly go back and forth. If I have a question and I don't know the answer, for example, I'll send something out to the company saying, hey, I had a customer ask me how we integrate Polycom with Skype for Business online. I have no idea on my team who can answer that. I'd really like the power of all of Microsoft. So that's where I jump on Yammer, because I don't know who might answer my question. And when you're lucky to work for a company as large as ours, you have people working all day, all night. So I send a note out, and this actually happened recently, and I had a guy in Microsoft Belgium reply and say, hey, actually, here's a link to a TechNet article. So that chat versus enterprise social, there's a significant differentiation there. The hub for teamwork. So we're going to cover this, giving you a place to drop your files, a place to do tools like Power BI, Planner, and even external connectors. And you can customize those for each team in a different way. And lastly, as I mentioned, it's the security team's trust. I'm happy to sit in front of any chief security officer and say, look, the main difference on the security side between Microsoft Teams and our competitors is everything inside the Microsoft Office 365 Trust Center. So at that point, let's see if any interesting questions came up, and we'll kind of answer them over there. So the question was from Thomas, and Thomas wanted to know, by the way, I appreciate Victor getting the response out there. Will SharePoint communities and team sites continue, or will they be replaced by Teams? Yeah, we're not getting rid of team sites. Sites have a very important place in the world. Definitely not designed for this chat. So no hurry, and definitely no plans to get rid of Teams. As a matter of fact, we've been investing. Matt put up a question he got that says, do you have an illustration that guides customers on the collab spectrum for various tools? Victor has that, and he will be presenting that in a little while. Is Teams integrated? Does this require an additional license? Last question I'll take right now. Dux, I know you responded, but here's the beauty of it. Microsoft Teams is automatically part of Office 365 Enterprise plans, E1, E3, E4, E5. So if you have Office 365 today, then yes, you already own the rights to Microsoft Teams, which is super exciting. So what I'd like to do now is share my desktop and jump into a demo. I'm not a big screenshot guy. So what you're going to see in a moment is a demo environment that I have set up and actually use with my team at Microsoft just to really show our customers the beauty of Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to hit share screen. And I'm going to make sure the right screen is shared. Extra points for picking the right monitor. Give me one moment, and we'll get this out there.
You have 3 monitors, right, Matt?
I only have 2 at this point. I would love a 34-inch touchscreen. That would make me much happier.
There you go.
All right, I just hit the play button. Dux, just let me know real quick if you can actually see what I'm sharing.
Coming up.
Right now.
It says buffering. Oh, I see it. We see it.
Fantastic.
We see it even in here in Sweden. So.
Great. So let me tell you what you're looking at here. You're actually looking at my Windows, my Win32 Microsoft Teams app. Okay. Screen sharing has been interrupted. Sorry. We'll hit that play button again. So you're looking at the Microsoft Teams app. Now, before I go any further, I do want to tell everyone here that this is very unlike Microsoft, but we launched the Microsoft Teams app on the PC, the Mac, the iOS, Android, and Windows Phone all at the same time with the same functionality. Of course, it's also available in the browser at teams.microsoft.com. We'll talk about how to turn it on later with Victor, but I just wanted to kind of tell you, you can get this anywhere. And this is really important, right? A lot of Office 365 works great in the browser, but feedback from customers was, if we're doing development on an app, I just want that app on my desktop. I want access on any device that I'm on. And so we heard that feedback, and this is what we developed. So we're going to start in the upper left-hand corner. That is me. And I have different activity that I can flag right over there. I can change my picture. Now that picture is connected to my Office 365 environment, so it pulled that picture down from Office 365. Now I can set my availability as busy, do not disturb in a way. By clicking on do not disturb, that will actually prevent any notifications or pop-ups from coming on my screen in Microsoft Teams. Now here's the beauty of it. That can be connected and is connected to Skype for Business Online. So I want to make that clear. If you have Skype for Business server, this is connected to online at this point. We're working on some more integration, but we'll have some announcements soon. Yeah.
So Matt, a quick question, and I want to kind of zero into this, right? Because I found this very beneficial. Personally, I use Teams, and what I notice, even if my Skype client is not running and I have Teams up, I still get my regular IM. And the person IMing me may, it's just using Skype for Business. So I think that's pretty cool.
It's not only cool, but it's definitely important that that's part of our story, right? People should be able to be reachable wherever they want. As a matter of fact, I have customers that have started a policy when Microsoft Teams goes general availability, because it is still in preview today. But when it goes general availability, they're going to make Teams their default messaging app. And I thought that was pretty bold, especially how early it is, but that's up to the customer to decide how they want to use it. So here's my availability. These are some saved conversations I found super important, so I wanted to tag. Then I go down the left, I've got my activity, so where I've been participating, etc. My one-on-one chats. So again, this is a chat, an informal chat. So that means it's not part of any official group. I just sent a quick note to Albert, Courtney, Mark, Michael, Sean, and Steve, just to ask them a question. You can see, we'll talk about this later, we can add some GIFs. So I got a sarcastic high five, some more sarcasm. We have a lot of sarcasm on my team here. I kind of like it. But these are informal chats. And then I go down further, I've got my teams. So right here on Teams, these are the teams that we're participating in, which is where I'll spend most of my time today. And then we have meetings. Because this is fully connected into Office 365, I'm able to click on meetings and join different calendars that I have right over here. So look what's going on right over here. Let's see, I've got an overview that we're doing a little bit later today. So even though this was sent to me in Exchange, you can see I can accept, tentative, decline this meeting. Here's an invitation. Here's my Skype dial-in, my attendees. This is only going to get richer over time. If I need to schedule a brand new meeting, I can actually schedule a meeting inside Microsoft Teams instead of jumping into Outlook and leaving this app. So our goal was to give people who want to live in one app an opportunity to do calendaring, chat, team communication, and even file management in one app. I can join a meeting, I can do video, audio, all right here, and all that back end are different components of Office 365. So the video audio is Skype for Business under the hood. The calendaring, as you know, is Outlook. Files, these are all the files that I have interacted with. So my OneDrive, my Microsoft Teams files are all integrated right into here, so I don't need to go hunting outside of my app to bring these files to my team. All right, so now let's jump into Teams. Yeah, go ahead, Dex.
No, I was going to say this is really, really awesome because, for a long time, right, a lot of people would say, well, there's all these disconnected experiences, but people crave for that one-stop shop, right? That's why people live and work in Outlook. One comment I do have is the only thing that's missing here is the ability to respond to email.
Yes, and we'll talk about, yes, Outlook is still your best tool for mail. And by the way, let me dispel another myth. So we talked about the Yammer myth earlier on. Now I want to talk about the groups myth. If you're using Office 365 groups, early on I heard some people say that, this is Microsoft's answer to Slack. And groups wasn't our answer to Slack. Groups, first and foremost, is a membership application. It helps Office 365 users put themselves in groups of people that work together or collaborate or communicate often.
Hi, Matt.
I think we lost Matt, at least the audio.
Oh, I lost his audio. Okay, so we need to.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Matt, you there? Oh, no, he's switching his devices.
That's some cool effects.
There you go. Well, while we're waiting, right? So I'm sure Matt will get back soon quickly. So as he was talking about groups, so Victor, from your perspective, how can you quickly define and describe groups' relationships to teams?
Yeah, so it depends on what then you start. When you create a team, you will always get a group. That's how it works. So a group will be underneath everything in the future of Office 365 as I see it. So when you create the new modern team size, you will get a group. So when you create a team, you will get a group. When you create the plan, you get a group, etc. So the group are the underlying construct here. If you start creating groups today, you can very, very easy just team enable those groups. You don't have to create a new team for that. So if you don't want to launch teams right now, if you need to create training material or whatnot, if you start creating groups already, or the modern team sites using groups, then you can just team enable them later. So, and that I think is one of the beauties with Office 365 and how it all ties together like this.
Absolutely, and one of another point there is, when I talk to customers, the way I describe groups is think of it as like the keychain that holds everything together. As Victor mentioned, right? If you are using groups today and then you're thinking, wow, I got to create another thing in Teams, actually you don't. Because when you create a team, for example, it's actually going to ask you if you have an existing group you want to use. Hey, Matt, sounds like you're back.
I'm sorry about that. I literally hung up the phone call. That is what happened. I clicked the button on Skype and I killed it. That is just awesome.
All right. So there you go. So I think your screen is refreshing. So you were talking about groups, so we kind of picked up as you were describing the difference between groups and teams. So back to you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Embarrassing. At least you saw me panicking on my screen. Open Outlook, get in my calendar, call back. So let's talk about how a team's going to work together. And in this particular demo, we have an event we're planning called the West Tech Summit Series. And so my team, Tim, Wally, Mark, Shane, Sean, Steve, all real people, we're working on planning an event series next year. And so we're collaborating on what we want to do here. So you see this conversation between me and Mark, trying to figure out how long the session should be. And I just did an Mark, what do you think? And Mark responds that, this should be shorter and not go long. Let's give lunch. I proposed an agenda. How did I do that? I just uploaded it. But here's what's neat. In the chat thread, when I go upload that file, that gets saved in the file library of the environment. So for example, I click choose a file to upload. We can go to, I'm going to just go to upload right over here. I'll go to my desktop, and there's my West Tech Summit series. Here's the January, February content ideas file that I want to share. And I can say, check these out. Actually, I don't want to share this other one. We've already done that before. And I hit enter. And so now I've just shared this with the whole team. When I jump over to files, you're going to see that that is now part of our files. So, in the old days and other collaboration tools, not only did you have to send the file to everybody, but you also had to upload it to the OneDrive. So my conversation view is here. You can also see some of the fun GIFs we've added. There's my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's What else can I show you? Let's go down here. I've got some, only 24 days till the end of H1. Creating your own GIFs is really fun. Yes, it definitely is something that we were behind on. Other companies did this first, but you can definitely have fun and have that chat and have that conversation. This will automatically connect to the Microsoft Teams app on your phone. So we saw my files. We have notes. So I actually added a note section. It's just OneNote, right? So we have our own team OneNote. These are kickoff meetings, and we were just doing some planning here. We posted our agenda. So this agenda was that same file that we uploaded earlier. And so because it's so important, we dropped it right in the home page or right in the navigation bar of our Teams. We added Power BI. We added the event plan on this tab as well. Again, so it's going to open up whatever app. In this case, it was Microsoft Planner. So that's neat. You now have integration to Planner and Teams and Groups. And if I hit the plus sign, I can also add different applications, including any SharePoint site that I want. But that's not all. I sound like the guy in an infomercial. You also have the ability to add external applications. This is very interesting for those of you who have worked with Microsoft for years. You know, not a lot of people in Silicon Valley liked us for quite some time, but new leadership and new openness pledge. And so check out some of these connectors I can pull in. I can add Trello, Twitter, Asana, Jira, GitHub, VSTS, right into Microsoft Teams. And I'll tell you this, that after we launch in Q1 of next year, we're going to have a ton more connectors available. You can even build your own connectors if you're up for it. So this is incredible. If you have developers using Jira, and they use Jira, and they're never getting off Jira, and they want to integrate into Teams, they can actually add their account directly in. If people are using Asana or Wunderlist or even Zendesk, that can be added too.
So Matt, one of the key points, and you bring up something very, very important here, is really the flexibility of Teams. Well, certainly there's a lot of capabilities, integration, Office 365, but the fact that you can connect it to other tools and other technologies that organizations use today is powerful. Another observation I have, and you kind of brought it up, is when customers ask me, okay, this is great. I know Victor will talk more about use cases, but for me, I find the immediate value of Teams if you're doing some fast-paced, quick collaboration. You talked about IT and development and Jira. I find this is a great use case if you're in a development team doing a sprint and you have release coming up where you need that fast-paced type of interaction collaboration. Teams is a perfect collaboration platform for it. Another example, maybe you're trading stocks, right? You're a bunch of traders on the floor. You're looking at stocks and amongst yourself. Again, Teams is a great platform to do that fast-paced type of interaction collaboration. And then once you bring in all these line of business technologies, it makes it much, much better. And this is certainly something you can do with Skype for Business or all the existing collaboration tools we have today.
Exactly. I mean, look at this for a second. One of the biggest objectors I've heard from people who say why they don't use some of Microsoft tools, and they say because we don't work with any of their existing apps that they use. I just scrolled through this, and we found Salesforce. We found Google Analytics. I mean, it doesn't really matter. All these tools are going to be able to connect directly into Microsoft Teams. So that's a great point, Dux. And this is one of the biggest differences between any of our other tools, that integration to other solutions. All right, so I'm going to jump out of the demo and jump back to a slide. Again, that's my super quick demo, and Victor's going to have a little bit more to cover as well. So let's switch. Let's turn off screen share. Let's go back to the roadmap. So again, we're still in preview. This hasn't even released yet, and we have millions of users already using it. 181 countries we're already have this released in, 18 different languages, more to come, and general availability is Q1 of next year, so that means between January and March. My hope is that it's going to be on the earlier end than the later end. And then in the next quarter, we're going to be making tons of announcements of all the additions that we're going to be bringing in to Microsoft Teams. And really, once again, under the hood, you only need to be licensed for Office 365, and then you're ready to go with Microsoft Teams. So highly recommend you and your organization pilot it, give it a shot, give it a try, and and let us know how it's going. So with that, I just wanted to say thanks. Maybe we have a few questions that I want to look through and to queue up Victor. One was about admin capabilities. So right now, admin capabilities are available, slightly limited. A lot of the administration is going to be done through Office 365 groups, so Victor can definitely address that. Teams integrate with Exchange Server. Right now, it doesn't directly integrate with Exchange Server on-prem, so you may be missing some of that calendaring information, but it will still work. How many integrators today? I just counted about 35 to 40, but every day I seem to be getting a few more. What about external users? Excellent question, which I should have addressed. Today, we don't have external users, but it is on the roadmap. So when we make our announcements after we officially launch in Q1, you'll have a better time frame on when we'll do that. The open SharePoint option, can you showcase that? I won't demo it, but literally it asks you for the URL and which SharePoint site you want to integrate in, so you can build in SharePoint sites that Teams use directly into Teams. Question from Colton. Right now, is Teams enabled or disabled for the entire organization? It is disabled by default. An administrator in Office 365 needs to go into the admin console, needs to go into services and add-ins, and then they can turn on Teams for specific users inside the organization. It is per user license. All they need is an Office 365 E1 or E3 licenses. School districts, education is slightly different, and I don't have the answer right now. I love these questions coming in. I'll take two more and then I'll hand it off to Victor. Does Teams integrate with Skype for Business on premises? It will coexist, but right now it's not integrated. Question from Helen. How deep is the integration with Salesforce? I'm not a big Salesforce user. I'm a real big fan of Microsoft Dynamics. So I recommend trying it out yourself. But right now, basic notifications and things like that. And last, Rick, messages are not, they're archived because it's a permanent thread, but eDiscovery Legal Hold archiving is not active on conversations right now. That's a lot of questions. I love the excitement. But I do want to be fair. So, Dux, anything else before we hand it off to Victor?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, this is really, really encouraging with the interest of Teams. What we'll do, especially for those questions that weren't addressed, we'll be posting a blog, we'll be answering all these things, and this session is actually being recorded as well. So if you have colleagues that couldn't make it, they can definitely watch this again. But we're taking all those questions, we'll make sure we'll answer it, and we'll publish a full blog and to answer your questions. And one more thing before I turn to Victor is bots. That's one of my most favorite things with Teams. So in the interest of time, if we have some more time later, we'll talk more about it, but make sure you guys look at the bots integration with Teams, and they have a bot that's built in that's really cool, and you can build your own bot as well and make it part of Teams too. So with that, Victor, you're on.
Thank you. And just to continue on that bot part, and that's one of the things that we at Avanade, when we started trying Teams out, that was one of the things we looked into first because we see a huge potential in that. And I think even Satya Nadella said that bots are the new apps. So I think that's a great integration story for different kind of systems into Teams. And Matt showed you the connector part. That's one integration point. The second is bots, and the third is actually you can create your own tabs. So there are, if you're in system integrator, ISV, there's plenty of opportunities for you to extend Teams as well. But as we talked about in the beginning, Avanade, we were part of the TAP program and had the opportunity to try out Teams before it was publicly known. And it's been a great ride we've been on. And I've been loving this from day one. And I see this as a missing piece, of the 365 puzzle. And I want to try to put that into a context and see when I talk to customers and what they see Teams as and have a good explanation, and you should have that as well when you talk internally in your organizations on how to position Teams and when to use it. So let's start with a slide that some of you might not agree with me. This is or Avanade. This is how we see different generational preferences in types of collaboration. This is a generalization, of course, but it's some truth in it. And if you take a look at email, for instance, if you're a baby boomer, you very probably like email, our Generation X like me. I don't like email, so it's a generalization, as I said. But we've seen that the Generation C, or as we also say, the Generation Me, because they only care about themselves, or about that. But they don't like email that much. They prefer other kind of ways, and specifically persistent chats, just as Teams are. We see there's several things in here that different generations prefer and not prefer. And in-person meetings, for instance, that's something that has come back. The Generation C very much prefer that. But the whole idea is that we need multiple tools in our toolbox to accommodate for all these kind of generations, both horizontally, vertically, different cultures, etc. And we never had this many different generations in our workforce as of today. That's the reason we need different kind of tools. And when you're collaborating, you will have different kind of journeys. You will, for instance, as you can see in the slide here, you might start on Yammer. You might have an idea, you're discussing it in Yammer across your organization. You might turn that into a formalized project and work in SharePoint or create a SharePoint site. Then you need to work with your team and refine the results. You have a chat back and forth, and then you bring in some external SMEs and get some feedback on that using email. You go back to Skype for Business to present your solution, and finally archive it in SharePoint. Another very common scenario, which is the blue line, is where I see that's often how I start. I start in my OneDrive for Business. I create a document. I might discuss that on Skype over a Skype meeting with a colleague. And then we finally see, we need to set up a project for this or in a committee or something. We create an Office 365 group or a team or a SharePoint site and start sharing it there. Then we bring in information from different places. We might discuss it on Yammer. We might discuss it on our teams and whatnot. And then we, of course, store it in the long-time archive in SharePoint. And then we share our results on Yammer, for instance, to get the message out. And these kind of journeys will be very different within your organizations, and they will vary over time, and it will change over time. And therefore, we need all these kind of tools that Office 365 can give us. And I would say Office 365 is the only solution or suite out there that can accommodate for all these different cultures, different generations, different kind of needs, etc. In such a seamless context. You don't need to have to log in between all these different kind of systems and so forth. So what we did at Avanade, we looked at all the different kind of features within the Office 365 suite. We try to put that in one single image. This is only two-dimensional. It could actually be three dimensions, but I think this is a pretty good picture and shows you all the different kind of, not all of them, but the major tools in Office 365 suite and how you should use them. And the horizontal axis, we have the audience. Ranging from your individual, yourself, to your group, to your team department, and all the way to the whole organization and even externally. And on the vertical axis, we have the priority or time sensitivity going from very low, where we don't need that fast pace, up to the really urgent or high. And in the lower left corner, of course, your storage, your individual storage is OneDrive for Business. And as you saw in the journey previously, that's probably where you store your personal documents. But that's not where you want to share your documents. You should share your documents on your team sites. So we're following the horizontal axis. Over to, you might publish this in a record center, in a publishing site, or even on your intranet. And if you could take a look at the vertical axis, you have your OneDrive for Business. Then you have your email, of course, which is your email conversations. And if you want to have a one-on-one chat with someone, you might use Skype for Business. In the upper right corner, we have Skype Broadcast. You want to broadcast a meeting for your whole organization. And also we have Yammer on the right-hand side. And Yammer is, compared to Teams, which you can see are located in the middle here. So if we compare, that wasn't a question as well, how does this refer to Skype? So if you take a look at it in the middle, we have Skype on the left-hand side, Teams in the middle, and Yammer on the right-hand side. And Yammer is something, as Matt also said, something you want to discuss with the whole organization. You don't know who knows these answers. You might post a question, or you want to share something with your whole organization, or have a conversations that are more slow-paced, so to say. Whereas Teams fit in just between Skype for Business, where you have the one-on-one or really quick chats, and Yammer. That's Microsoft Teams. That's how you work in your group, in your department or team, where you have that high-velocity collaboration. You need to talk to someone quickly. You need to discuss a document and do that kind of stuff. And Microsoft Teams, as you can see here as well, are located very close to team sites or Office 365 groups. I'm not a Microsoft marketing person, but team sites and groups, I see them eventually merge very much together. And Teams sits on top of that. And I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. When you create the new modern team site or modern groups, then you will get a team. And when you create a team, you will get the corresponding SharePoint site. And that was also in the questions, as Matt showed when he uploaded the document. That document is actually stored in the document library of that team site associated with that team. So you will always have the same persistent storage for that, and also you have search enabled those documents by default. So you can find them in Delve, you can find them in your SharePoint search, etc. So if we, this is a picture that sorry.
No, I was going to say, I really love this slide because while it may seem like it's, there's a lot going on here, but it's a great summary and summation, not only about the technology, what the priority is and the teams, but I love on the right side where you put different generational preferences, because that's spot on.
Yep. Yeah. That's how we see it. And another thing that's very important with this slide, that it is not the correct answer for everyone. There's a lot of gray areas in between all of this. In some organizations might prefer Skype over Teams for some scenarios, and some might prefer Teams. Or the same thing with the border between Microsoft Teams and Yammer. That's up to your organization or your team or your group of people that works together. And for me personally, Teams has been a very good experience, as I said. It has reduced all those small emails that I get. Are you ready for lunch? Where should we meet for lunch? And all those small things. Or even here's the document. Can we discuss that one? The same thing with Yammer. Those conversations that really doesn't work on Yammer, those high-paced communication things within your small team, those work much, much better in Microsoft Teams. So it's reduced my number of emails. It's actually, right now, Microsoft Teams I have Outlook, of course, auto starting and Microsoft Teams. But I spend more time in Microsoft Teams than I do in Skype. What we also put here is that I mentioned the bots and connector, and I think that is something that also will integrate these things together. As Matt showed you, you have the connectors. So assume you have a Yammer group or something in Yammer that you want to get information into your team. So you can create a connector and bring Yammer content into your team. And the bots can be used to fetch information if you create those from systems outside of this thread as well. And one great story we had during the TAP program is that we onboarded a new set of trainees here in Sweden. And one of the first questions I got, where do we chat? Where do we collaborate? Do you have WhatsApp? Do you use that? And fortunately, we're in the TAP programs, we onboarded them to Microsoft Teams, and they started using that for all those things, both the projects they were doing, but also for the fun stuff. And I think that's very important. Matt showed you the memes and the GIFs, and those kind of things makes it so much fun, more fun to collaborate together. And for that specific group of trainees, they are doing 9-month trainee program, and they will spend a lot of time together. So this is a perfect communication tool for them to have both during work hours, but also during off hours, to build a great community between them. Let's jump to the next slide. Let's be a little bit more technical. I've seen a couple of questions about how that is related to Office groups. We have the SharePoint sites, etc. So this is a slide that will show you my point of view on where Office 365 groups fit into this big picture. And I said it as well. So Office 365 groups are in the core of the whole Office 365 suite. It brings you the membership, who's a member or owner of a team. And we can say that directly there are two types of groups. There are public groups that you can create today and private groups. And team only works with private groups as of now. But you manage the ownership and the membership members of the group, and the same permissions are applied to the associated SharePoint team site, the conversation view, and now also the Yammer experience that you will potentially create. You see the Microsoft Teams on the lower right-hand side. Microsoft Teams, when you create a team, it will create a group, and it will also create that associated SharePoint team site, as I said. And also, in a team, you can have different kind of channels, and each channel or a discussion or like a big thread you might have, and those channels are mapped to the shared documents library in the SharePoint team site. So when you upload a document in that channel, it will be uploaded to a corresponding folder in the team site. And that is how it all brings together, and so that's what makes Office 365 unique. And also, we see a lot of other things in here as well. So, for instance, we have the Power BI can create a group. So you can start from Power BI, create that group, and then team enable that group. You could start using Staff Hub, for instance, which is a really awesome new service as well from Microsoft. That will create an Office 365 group for you, which you then could team enable. You have a lot of opportunities for you here to actually create a really good collaborative environment. Another thing I want to say about this picture, you see there's a lot of apps in here, and I think that's a good thing. We have the Microsoft Team app, the SharePoint app, and the Auto Group app, etc. And the reason there are many groups and not apps and not just one big Office 365 app is, of course, that they can move out new features much faster. Imagine having one big Office 365 app that would just take months to test. So in this way, they can actually get features out really fast. And now the 4 or 5 months we've been running Teams, I've seen a tremendous speed of new features, fixes and bug fixes coming out. So it's really good, and some days the Teams client updates several times a day because they are rolling out new stuff. So I would say this is one of the most complete complete betas I've ever been in, and we use it every day now. Personally, I use it.
Victor,
yes, sure. Yes.
There's a question on the Q&A quickly. Can you expand more on Staff Hub, specifically what that is?
Yeah, Staff Hub. Yeah, absolutely. Staff Hub is a new, if you go to staffhub.ms, I think the URL is, Staff Hub is for deskless workers. So you can set up their schedule. If they're working in shifts, for instance, they can easily change shifts with each other. And so you have a team manager and just can manage different kind of teams working in shifts, and they can apply for health holidays and those kind of things, which is a really cool feature for the deskless kind of workers. And it's also a really good app where you can do all this kind of things.
Awesome. Thank you.
On the bottom here, you have the Microsoft Graph, and that's also one of the key features of Office 365. We now have one unified API to talk to all these kind of services, such as we have the team sites, we have the calendars, so we have the conversation views, etc. But also, it's not there yet, but Microsoft Teams will be in that Microsoft Graph as well, so we could programmatically do stuff against Microsoft Teams. And as Matt said, it's in beta. They will add external people, external members in the next year. The same thing is with the Microsoft Graph. And being in the product team behind Teams has been very responsive in both the feature requests that we had. Some of the feature requests that we had from Avanade side is now in the product. But also they are listening very actively to what the community says. So in the app you have, what's the symbol now? It's a bell or something. Let me see. Yeah, it's a small light bulb. If you click on that one, you can actually go to the user voice site and give your suggestions to Microsoft Teams, and also vote on other suggestions. And of course, the most highly voted stuff suggested right now is the external sharing. But there's a lot of things in there that's actually the team behind Microsoft Teams has marked as planned or in progress. So they are planning for big things with this product. That's about the slides I want to show, and let's see if we have any more questions.
So one question for you, Victor. Since you guys pretty much piloted it at Avanade, at a high level, any observations? How did that impact people working together? Did it improve the day-to-day interaction? What was the end result, at least from a business perspective, or as from a collaboration perspective?
I would say We are, I would say, first of all, we haven't turned on Teams fully within Avanade. We right now have you can request a team, so our IT department will create those just because we have, this is a beta product and we need to have a bit control of exactly who's using it for compliance reasons, etc. But we plan to go live as soon as this go GA, we will go GA within Avanade with it as well. But it has for many kind of different projects. I work within what we call the market unit when I work with offerings and those kind of things. Instead of having email threads going on all the time or Skype chats where we lose the chat, we do those on Microsoft Teams instead. We can share the documents there, discuss the documents, have comments around those, and have that persistent going on. So if someone new comes into that team and we discuss that offering, they can see what we talked about earlier, or we share a link or a YouTube video or something like that. The other thing that I'm part of is our development projects. We have set up a team for many of our development projects, and we integrate that with Visual Studio Team system to can get notifications when a build fails, or if we have a bug somewhere, or even each and every user story, and discuss those in Teams and having that discussion going on there, and even talk to our colleagues remotely around the world. Compared to if you do standard Skype meeting, that's me and you right now, right here, and when we close that meeting down, everything is lost unless you record it. But with Teams, you can work globally around the world with the team, and they come and go as they fit.
Yep, exactly. No, that's great. That's very insightful. So I see a couple questions coming up. Matt, are you still on? I have some questions for you.
Yep, I'm here. I didn't hit the hang up button now. I did it.
So I just want to make sure. So there's a lot of great questions around, okay, this is great, but how do I manage this more effectively? There's a question around governing users on Teams and relates to groups, and there's questions on DLP and compliance. Since this is such a new technology, any insights you can share around that?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, we've got some FAQs that we can share out there today. Microsoft Teams retains all the messages. If a message gets deleted, you can kind of pull it back for at least 7 days, and most it's 30 days. There isn't any support at this time for retaining logs. So we also don't have data export yet. So this is definitely still in preview. We're going to get there. So highly recommend working with your favorite compliance partner, AvePoint, to really take that compliance a few steps further. So we don't have it yet today.
Okay, and then next question, Victor or Matt, where are the actual Teams conversations stored? Where's the store for this?
I can take that. So this is actually, everything is stored in the Skype data centers. And so it's in your Office 365 tenant within your Skype data centers. That's where this data is stored. So and that's one of the big benefits of using Microsoft Teams. Teams is built on top of all the Office 365 infrastructure that you have. It is using all the compliance, security, and governance and policies that's around that, and conforms to, of course, the different kind of regulations that Office 365 conforms to as well.
Awesome. Let's see, coming in some more questions. Most enterprise companies from Song are data tagging, classifying documents. Do you see the migrating of conversation and these chat tools? So I guess the question is around how do you classify and tag, especially in highly compliant organizations, when it comes to data classification?
It's on our roadmap. I don't know really any other information. We'll have some additional roadmap information when we launch officially in Q1. Sorry.
Awesome. No, this is good. I mean, these are great questions, and again, we can see a lot of interest and excitement. And keep in mind, folks, again, this is in preview, and boy, just interest around this. And frankly, being a preview program or preview technology, I'm already amazed at all the capabilities and how much more if this comes GA. Okay. Other questions. Let's see. Our IT group is hesitant to deploy Teams because this means fully embracing groups. They are concerned about the manageability. Okay, so again, this kind of goes back to Matt's point earlier. Keep in mind, right, Microsoft is providing a lot of great options for different collaboration scenarios. Certainly, even if organizations don't use this today, somebody was asking a question earlier that I answered is, we can see what, to Matt's point earlier, there's a lot of shadow IT going on. You can ask the same question if your organization uses tools outside of Office 365, be it Slack or Asana or all these other tools. The manageability, in my opinion, is a little more challenging. The beauty of this is now this is part of your Office 365 stack, from authentication, identity. You can have a better way to manage. Today, with teams and groups being relatively new, Microsoft is heavily investing and providing more ways to better support and manage it. If you do need it today to better manage your group's capability and team, certainly partners like us, AvePoint, we have technologies that can support you in those endeavors. But definitely, like Matt said, stay tuned in the roadmap in the future. Microsoft will be providing a lot more investments around that. Let's see, a couple more questions. So just to give everybody a heads up, we're about a few minutes till we wrap up. I'm going to pick up 2 more questions and have the team address it. Are groups based on SharePoint? Or can you explain open in SharePoint option we saw in the demo? Matt, did you want to jump on this?
Yeah, so it wasn't open in SharePoint. So first and foremost, all of Office 365, other than Exchange, whether you like it or not, is SharePoint under the hood, right? Groups, Teams, Delve, everything you see has some flavor. OneDrive, of course, has some sort of SharePoint underneath the hood. So the answer is yes, but the SharePoint demo that you saw was simply add a link to an existing SharePoint site and add it into a team. So it's not mandatory. If you create a new group, it's a new team, it's not there. You actually have to go ahead and click the plus, type in the URL of the SharePoint site you want added into the team for easier access. That's all that actually does.
Awesome. One more question. This is a quick one. Can Teams be used for E2 nonprofit?
Good question. Johan, I need to double check on that. Right now, it's not available for education and government. I'm sure there's a really good reason. I believe there's no limitation on nonprofit, but Johan, your best thing you can do right now is go in your admin console, in the Office Admin Center, and under Settings, click Services and Add-ins. And then you can go ahead and see if Microsoft Teams is an option there, and that's how you're going to find out. It should
Fantastic.
Be. That is my belief.
Awesome. So in the interest of time, before I let both of you go, just a quick pulse. Again, I still see a lot of questions, just like what I mentioned earlier. We'll be taking all these questions. We'll be responding to the questions we haven't answered on our blog. And I just want to get a quick pulse of everybody who tuned in. Is this webinar beneficial? If it is, just pop in the Q&A and say, yeah, love it. We want more of this. We want to hear from you, because if you want more of this stuff, we're committed to work with folks like Microsoft, Avanade, and industry thought leaders to provide insights around these technologies. So we're already planning future webinars next month. We're going to unpack groups, for example. We're going to talk about, in this modern workplace, expand further on what to use when. Awesome. So great. So as we've said, we'll share all this with everybody. Matt, Victor, it's been great, and thanks again for volunteering your time. And I know I found it very beneficial. I'm sure everybody else. Any last words, Matt, Victor, before we close out the webinar? Matt?
My only thing is let's do this again, Dux, right around March when we know that we've gone general availability to talk about all the new things that we're going to be launching in that first quarter.
Awesome. So everybody heard that, right? Matt's already committed to March, so we'll definitely put that on the schedule. Victor, any last words of advice?
Yeah, that sounds fun. Let's do it again. My advice is go out and test this and test it within your organization and make your own decision on how to use it. And of course, use the slides you've seen here, but make your own guidance for it internally, how you should use it, and just have fun.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys. Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Docs, and stay tuned. Subscribe to our newsletter. Keep up with our blogs on AvePoint. But other than that, hit me up if you have questions on Twitter, Meet Docs, hit up Matt, Bergasonic, and Victor with a W on Twitter. Have a great rest of the day and enjoy the holiday season. Thank you and take care.